Welcome into another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast here on Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. We're here on the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me at TCAV30 on Twitter/X and follow our insider pages on Twitter/X and on Facebook at Rams Insider on SI. Today we're going to be breaking down a few things, talking about the NFC West, their matchups for this week, kind of predicting all four of those games, each team playing a non-divisional road game this week. And then we're going to look at the New Orleans Saints offense, the upcoming opponent for the Rams, and then a few other storylines as we get closer to this Week 13 matchup between the Rams and the Saints in Louisiana. Apologies for no content over the last day or so. I was dealing with some food poisoning, so got off the IR real quick, and then was able to be back today to provide some content and talk about a few things today with you guys. So first, we'll start with some NFC West predictions, starting with the Los Angeles Rams coming in at 5-6. They're traveling down south to the New Orleans Saints, who are 4-7. An interesting matchup here, as the Saints they started the year off pretty solid, 2-0, lost 7 straight games to become 2-7, fired their head coach Dennis Allen, and they're 2-0 under interim head coach Darren Rizzi. Once they got Derek Carr back, who missed 3 games in the middle of the season, their offense started to tick up a little bit. They were averaging just above 16 points per game in their 7-game losing streak, and then they've put together 55 combined points in their last 2 games in a pair of wins over Atlanta and Cleveland. So the Saints definitely looking up and up right now, but the Rams, they've been pretty solid this year when responding from losses. You go back to that Week 10 game, the Rams just cannot win at home in primetime. It's crazy. They lost to the Dolphins at home in Week 10, as I just said, and then came to Foxborough, took down the Patriots pretty convincingly. And then once again, they lost in primetime at home at SoFi Stadium, getting mollywopped by the Philadelphia Eagles. So I can kind of see the same thing happening this week. The Rams going to put a hurting on this Saints team. Their offense ranks 11th overall. Their defense is they're okay. They do give up upwards of 20 points per game. So I see the Rams once again. They play way better on the road than they do at home this year, which is pretty outstanding. So Rams, they'll get the win. They move on to 6-6. Moving on to the next game, we got the San Francisco 49ers at 5-6, tied for last place in the NFC West with the Rams. They're going to lose this week, no doubt about it. They play the Buffalo Bills on the road in Buffalo. It's supposed to be chilly, and there's supposed to be a ton of snow on the ground. I think they got over a foot of snow. I don't know if you guys remember this, but last year the Bills had to play, I think it was the Browns. They were supposed to play in Buffalo, and they got about 6 feet of snow or something, and had to play at Ford Field in Detroit because it was just not playable. No fans could get in the stadium. They had to shovel out feet and feet of snow. So kind of a similar situation here. San Francisco will not be ready for this. Report came in today that Brock Purdy has been back to practice. He was out last week against the Packers, where they just got completely body bagged, 38-10. Niners, they were out without Trent Williams. They were without Bosa. And then also, as I mentioned, Purdy. Even if Brock's back this week, I don't see them coming out with a win. The Bills are just too good. All the pieces they have around them, and sitting in 9-2, they're one of the best teams in the NFL currently, number 2 seed in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs. So Niners, once again, going into a cold environment on the road for a back-to-back week. They'll lose their 3rd straight game and fall to the Bills. Moving on to another cold game. Well, not really, because it's played indoors. But it's out in Minnesota. The Arizona Cardinals at 6-5. They're tied for first in the division. They're going to go up against the Vikings, who are 9-2. Minnesota, another one of the best teams in the NFL. They have played sensational football all year long. Sam Darnold has been great. And this Cardinals team, they were in a big spot last week to take sole possession of first place in the division. They had a 4-game winning streak coming off a bye week. On the road, they were playing the Seahawks, a divisional game, and they laid an absolute egg. Scored 6 points on 2 field goals. Kyler Murray throws a pick 6 to pretty much seal the game in the second half. The Cardinals kind of washed away their chances of really controlling the division. Now they have to sit at the top along with the Seahawks, who have been much better. I see a Cardinals loss once again. The Vikings, 9-2, they're going to continue to play well, especially at home. They do play very well. One of their only losses at home this year, or their only loss at home this year, was against the Lions. So Arizona, they'll move to 6-6, still be at the top of the division, but they will not be number one, considering that the Seahawks this week will go on the road to play the New York Jets. Now, this isn't going to be a colder game for Seattle, but they're used to this type of thing coming from where they play their home games outside. 6-5, taking on the 3-8 Jets. New York has not figured it out all year. I mean, it's a season from hell for them. You got Aaron Rodgers. You traded for Devontae Adams. You restructured the contract of Hassan Reddick, and still they can't find any production. No success whatsoever. And the Seahawks are playing good football. They've won their last 2 games, both divisional wins. And I think Geno Smith is starting to peak at the right time. He seems to do it every year, playing his best football down the stretch. So I see the Seahawks taking first place, and they got a real shot to win this division. So Seahawks and Rams will come out with wins as they play lesser opponents, and the Cardinals and the 49ers are playing 2 of the best teams in the league. They will both lose. So that's kind of what the outlook is. Seattle, they're going to be 7-5 at the top. Cardinals will be 6-6, tied with the Rams for second. And then in dead last will be the Niners at 5-7. So we'll move on quickly, talk about this New Orleans Saints offense. First, leading with the guy that's pretty much gotten everything going for them this year, Alvin Kamara. He leads the team in 2 different statistics, rushing and receiving yards. He's got 782 rushing yards on 183 attempts. He's not averaging a whole lot, just 4.3 yards per carry. He's got 6 total touchdowns, the same number as Taysom Hill, who is pretty much the jack of all trades for this team. Definitely a guy that they need to watch out for. Those two, they're pretty much the main backs. Jamal Williams, he's only had 32 carries this year, kind of assumes that second or third string role from that aspect after he had a league-leading rushing touchdown number a couple of years ago with Detroit. And then Kamara in the passing game as well. He's got more passing yards than number 1 guy Chris Olave. Now, Chris has been out for a couple of games. He's only played in 8 contests. But Kamara, I mean, my goodness, 466 yards after the catch. So he's catching a ton of screen passes, and he's getting out for big yardage. He's only scored 1 touchdown. He's only coughed up the ball 1 time through the air, but 443 receiving yards on 55 receptions. Pretty solid for Alvin, who is going to be the main target all day long. And then taking a look at the quarterback as well, Derek Carr. He missed a couple of games with an oblique injury in the middle of this year. Spencer Rattler had to come in his place, but now Carr's back to full strength. He's thrown 13 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions with just 7 sacks this year. This Saints offensive line is pretty darn solid. They've only given up 23 total sacks. 14 of those were to Spencer Rattler in just a 3-game stretch. And Derek Carr seemingly much better at avoiding the pressure, as he's only taken 7 through 8 games. So I'd watch out for, if I'm the Rams, just kind of having a tougher time getting to the quarterback, watching Alvin Kamara in the running and the pass game, making sure they take him away in at least one of those aspects, hopefully both. In Carr, I mean, he can sling it. He can go for big yards. Chris Olave is on IR, so he will not be back this week. And that's 2 of the top receivers for the Saints that have been on IR. Olave and then Rashid Shaheed as well. Both of those guys dealing with injuries. So that's why the Saints running game is their best quality, is because they just don't have as many options when it comes to passing the football. It's going to be an easier time on the Rams secondary defense, but they're going to need to stack up front in stopping Kamara. A couple other finishing storylines here. Talking about Demarcus Robinson developing story. He was arrested the other day, Monday morning it was, for driving 100 miles an hour and showing signs of a possible DUI. Head coach Sean McVay spoke about it earlier this week, said that he's going to have to check out all the facts, make sure he knows everything about the situation. When it comes to Robinson, he was in the building on Tuesday and was able to kind of explain the situation to McVay. Obviously still developing. The league has been notified, so I'm guessing there's going to be somewhat of a suspension. I doubt that Robinson is able to play this week against the Saints, but that's something to keep an eye on. And then also in the injury report, 2 big names receiving some positive news. Veteran captain offensive tackle Rob Havenstein, he should be back this week on the line, which is a big help for a very inconsistent Rams offensive line. And then also Tyler Higbee, who's been out pretty much all season. Actually, no, he has been out all season. He got hurt with a torn ACL in their wild card loss to the Detroit Lions last year at the end of the season. And he might be back in the next couple of weeks. They've opened his practice window. He got back to practice this week, and that would be a huge plus for the Rams offense if they can get their number one tight end back. This has been the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated. From the Fans First Sports Network, I'm Tom Cavanaugh. We will see you again next time on a Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's going to be a great week before the Rams and the Saints square off in the Big Easy in Week 13.